My name is Chioma. I am 26 years old and I never graduated from the university simply because I was stupid and careless. This is the story of my life. On my 24th birthday, I received a nice gift. It was a BlackBerry phone and I always wanted one. It was like a rite of passage. My ex-boyfriend got it for me. He was a student just like me and didn't have a job, and I really never cared to ask if he could afford it. My concern at that point was yes, I had finally arrived. Other girls in my hostel had Blackberries and I would always get pissed when I heard sounds of pings and messages coming into their phones at all hours, and I would stare at my Nokia phone and wish I could throw it away. But half bread they say is better than none, so I hoped and even fasted to get a BlackBerry phone. Looking back now, if I had the opportunity, I would have a landline with no internet activity whatsoever. Anyways, I got the BlackBerry phone and even got a free BIS subscription. At that moment, my life was complete. No more going to the cyber caves to check my emails, my Facebooks or Twitter. I had it all at my fingertips. Life indeed was complete, and so I thought. Anyway, I became addicted to my BlackBerry and also my social media applications, and since I had constant access, I quickly gained enough followers, and especially guys, mostly because I had a lot of erotic pictures on my timeline. I was popular. Finally, I felt I was the main girl. Everyone wanted to follow me. I didn't care if it was virtual. It felt good, checking out my profile and having well over 8,000 followers, more than half of which were guys. But one particular guy caught my attention. Until this day, I don't know what had made him stand out, but we got chatty, he sent me direct messages and I replied. He was quite a gentleman and I can't remember him ever asking for nude pictures unlike the rest of them. So this made me comfortable with him. His name was Toby. He said he was a doctor. I didn't have any cause to doubt him. He had extensive knowledge and even gave me some medical advice from time to time. We eventually moved from Twitter to BlackBerry chat. We chatted all the time. I got so comfortable with him and I gave him my number. And that would come to be the biggest mistake I ever made. Toby called me every day. Some days he even called more than once. At night, he would call and I would lay on my bed and have phone intimacy with him. His voice was so soothing. He made me do things I never thought possible. He had gained so much access into my head, and I realized later I had done some very sick and twisted things just to please him. I would take no pictures of myself and I would send it to him. I would also make videos of me touching myself in private and send to him. I would also make voice note of me making moaning sounds and simulating orgasms. And all these while we had not met, not face to face at least. Eventually, I played into his hands. I began pestering to meet him in person. At this point, I had lost my mind. I assumed I was in love with him, and when my boyfriend at the time broke up with me, I really welcomed it. For me, it meant no more sneaking around. Toby eventually agreed to come to Lagos to meet me. All this while we were chatting, he made me believe he was in Calabar and would take time off from work to spend the weekend with me in Lagos. When I heard this, I was excited. He told me to book a reservation for him, stating that he will pay me back as soon as he arrives Lagos. And also he said it will make him more committed to the visit and would convince him of my seriousness. I bought it all. He was smart, he was cunning, and I was stupid. Oh, how stupid I was. The funny thing was I had sent him tons of pictures and all I had was just one picture of him. And whenever I had asked, he would claim he wanted to be sure I loved him for him and not for his looks, and sheepishly I would try to convince him of my undying love and would try to appease him with nude pictures of my body. He eventually made it to Lagos and I met him at the hotel. He was tall, handsome and had a wonderful smile. He made love to me over and over and convinced me to spend the night with him. I told him I couldn't because I had a test the next morning. At this point, I didn't know what triggered his anger. I don't know if it was because I couldn't spend the night or maybe I said something else I can't remember saying, but whatever it was, brought out a very ugly side of him. He called me foul names and kept going on and on about how he always knew I was cheap and he knew I was sleeping with other men. The same man who had swept me away slammed me on the floor. He told me how he had showed his friends all my nude pictures and how they had watched the videos and listened to the voice notes. He told me how he had made a bet with his friends that I will actually pay him to have sex with me, just to prove how stupid I was. Well, you can imagine how I felt. I was confused and shocked, but I attempted to regain my little dignity I had left. And so I tried to mouth off at him. Suddenly, he punched me in the face and I tripped over and hit my head on the stool. The next thing I remembered was waking up on the bed. I was tied up and he was staring at me. His eyes were dark and he had a sinister smile on his lips. He stood up and walked towards me. I tried to scream and realized my mouth was taped. My head was racing. The unfortunate part was that no one knew where I was. He turned me over and told me he was going to teach me a lesson. At this point, I was naked. He raped me from behind and I mean my anus. The pain was mind-blowing. I struggled and he hit me. When he was done, he brought out a small blade and he looked at me for a moment and then said, "This guy is going to always serve as a reminder for girls like you always trying to be more than you are, for stupid fools like you." He put the blade to my nipple and cut it off, and anytime I think of it, I still feel the pain. It was like nothing I had ever felt before. He was calm, like he had done it a million times. I could feel the warm blood dripping down my mutilated breast, tears of fear and pain running down my face, and suddenly, he turned around again and this time I saw a flash. I don't know how I survived it, but I woke up in a hospital days after. Well, I was awake, but my eyes were swollen shut. It took a couple of days for me to open one good eye and realize the damage he had done. He had plucked out one of my eyes and cut my face. He had cut out my breast up real bad. They had to cut it out like I had cancer or something. There was no record of who I was because he had taken everything away. He had taken my bag containing everything I had. I was able to tell the nurses about what I could remember and also give them my mom's phone number. The hospital felt so much pity. They actually treated me for free, which was actually hard to believe. Anyways, I was taken home after weeks at the hospital to recuperate. It was thought I was blind in one eye. I had one breast and a hideous scar on my face. Talk about your signage. He did a number of things to me. How dumb was I? Sometimes I wish he had killed me. But their fate worse than death, and I guess this is one of them. He was gone without a trace. The receipt of the hotel was in my name. So yes, he had played me from the start. I didn't dare go back to school. I was sure everyone would have heard and I was not going to become a statistics. So I decided to stay at home and mind my business. Besides, what do I need an education for? I would rather stay home because there is no rising from this. There is no happy ending to this story. This is the simple ending. I was a victim of a sexual predator and I let him into my life, period. And I take full responsibility for that. I was driven by greed and lack of morals. I allowed myself to fall into an abyss. But while saying all this doesn't change anything, it's a memory I will have to live with for the rest of my life. Well, not a memory because I look at myself in the mirror every day. Who would want to see a nude picture of a woman with one breast, one eye, and a stud? I have decided to publish my story because with the rise of social media atrocities being committed, every story can go a long way in saving lives. So while you watch this video, kindly share to help someone back on the right path. If you have a daughter, make sure she watches this video and don't forget to subscribe and share this video. Thank you.